Hey, black women. I wanted to bring something to you guys' attention about marriage, since lately it's been a lot of lives and videos concerning this, okay? Currently in America, you have to really think about the administration you're living under, and not just personal takes on marriage, whether people are for it or against it, okay? I would like you to normalize, right? Going on websites like supremecourt.gov, right? Every other week, or at least every week, pick a particular day, go on the website and read through some of the rulings or summaries of the cases that concern your rights. Now, what I've noticed on TikTok is that there's been a upsurge in these red pill kind of guys, incels, whatever you want to call these dudes, right? Whatever they call them, manosphere, whatever, with this mentality of trying to convince black women of being married. Now, outside of things everybody knows, like Pew Research, Brookings Research, that did a few years back a study on black women becoming more impoverished when they marry black males, because most times black women are actually the breadwinners. And when you put your money together with a person who's making less than half of what you're making, your credit is horribly affected, your bills increase, and your income seriously takes a hit, and you dwell deeper into poverty than if you were just by yourself. And if you want to know in detail exactly how that happens, go to brookings.com, type it in, search it, read the study. Go to Pew, do the same thing. You could also do the same thing with the census. They have a section there. You can read that, as well as in whatever state you live in, you go to whatever department that handles the marriage licenses in your state. In New York, it is the Department of Health, right? So you will literally see how many people actually got married, and when they were married, this is how they started out, and by the time they left each other or died, this is where they were at. Even though you may not think that a lot of these places hold this information, you'd be surprised how many places do the same type of work, because they all pretty much work in sync with each other. Even the Department of Finance for your state will explain a lot of this stuff to you, as well as labor statistics. What else is it? Labor statistics, Department of Finance, your comptroller's office. Even sometimes they have forensic reports in the mortuary offices, because sometimes like people get into like serious battles with real estate and etc. Sometimes you have that there. And also the Supreme Courts in your state will give you a lot of information of how people are fighting over property, money, investments, etc., to show you literally how, if you are someone with a little bit of money, you marry someone with no money, how they can like completely wreck your life if you're a black woman. Okay, so keep that in mind. Secondly, when I reminded you earlier in the video that you need to go on websites to see what is being passed into law and what bills are being considered to become law, you need to keep that in mind, because I think a lot of you guys are forgetting about the SAVE Act, which is really about women who are actually married, who are not going to be allowed to get out of their marriages as easily as we can now moving forward. And that if you share your husband's last name, you will not be allowed to vote in the upcoming elections. That's two bills that became law under this president's administration. And there are many more, taking away many more women's rights. So while you may be romanticized and indoctrinated with the fantasy of the white picket fence, the house, and the 2.5 kids, it's not a real reality or something that you should be considering in this time. Maybe after this guy is gone and we actually have a changing of the guard in the country, you can revisit this idea. But for right now, it's not a good thing. Especially when if you get pregnant or you have any type of complicated miscarriage or pregnancy, you have options of dying or being imprisoned, because they have passed laws now. And this is why I'm saying always go to find out what is the latest thing that has passed, not just in the Supreme Court rulings, but on senate.gov, house.gov, congress.gov, assembly.gov, to find out what has become law. Because what is it, a week and a half ago or almost 2 weeks ago, the president actually passed an executive order where only males are allowed to have emergency services performed on them in emergency rooms to save their lives when it comes to them going into the emergency room for treatment. Whereas women, doctors, nurses, and whoever else are allowed to exercise racial prejudice, gender prejudice, and everything else, and actually refuse to treat you. Okay? So you need to keep all of that in mind as you are marrying people, worrying about having children for poor black males, wanting to cohabitate with them, and etc. You need to keep all this in mind, because when things happen, you will be the next Adriana Smith. Okay? So I know there are so many people trying to beat you over the head and convince you that marriage is something you should be doing. Well, it might, but it's not now. Okay? As long as you have this administration in office and running this country, the last thing you should be thinking about is sex, getting pregnant, having children, cohabitating with any type of male, and being in a position where that person can commit domestic violence, black femicide, child homicide, or child sexual violation. This is real realities in our communities as black women and children. So to pretend otherwise is foolish and very risky, and something that comes heavily along with the consideration of marriage, cohabitation, and things of that sort. So I would suggest you remember a few of those things I mentioned to you, and make sure you go onto all those websites, the Supreme Court.gov, House, Congress, Senate, State Assembly, to find out, and your council people as well as your assembly people, to find out exactly what bills are pending and which ones have become law that intend to make your life that much more difficult. Okay? And say no to the ring. Say no to the stress that black males bring when they come into your life and in your homes, that take away your good health, your good state of mind, the peace of your home, and everything else. Because in all honesty, when you think about how these guys posture themselves on these videos and these lives in such a domineering position where they literally are saying it's my way or the highway, right? Why would you want to put yourself in a position to deal with somebody where you may physically have to remove them off of the face of this earth, or bludgeon them to protect yourself? It doesn't make sense to me. But the reality is, these dudes spend 24 hours of a day trying to convince women and young girls, unfortunately, which is why we as black women need to do our part in explaining to young women and women in general that these guys, these black males, do not have your best interest at heart, and it is in your best interest to be as far away from them as possible. It is really depressing and disheartening to see how many people just literally shirked it off. That lady that was with that dude, Mr. French, I forget the lady's name, was actually taken away so easily, as if her life meant nothing and that she wasn't worth anything simply because she was a black woman. And when you think about the more than 200,000 black women and girls who were literally taken from this life just because they were black women and girls by black males who felt like their lives didn't mean anything and that to kill them meant absolutely nothing. You need to think twice before you get into relationships with people who are boastfully, proudly telling you that you mean nothing to them, and the only way they see you is not as a human being, but as a living thing that is here, in their opinion, to serve them and serve them only, and you are to get nothing in response. Now, if you down for that, you do you. But if you are thinking with a fully functioning brain, that's not something you should want to do. And I think the other thing that you should do is to start blocking all of these guys. When you see these lives and these videos talking about marriage and nuclear families and two-parent households, block them so that they get the message. We are not interested in being anyone's lifetime servant. We're not. We are interested in living our own lives, fulfilling whatever hopes, dreams, goals, and desires we have for ourselves, which does not for any moment dictate us running behind another person and making sure everything in their life is the way it's supposed to be while we're struggling to figure out what it is we're trying to do with ourselves. Or we have nothing at all because we're too busy trying to take care of someone else. Somebody who doesn't see us as a human being, somebody who talks to us as if we're nothing, somebody that could hurt us and literally take our lives from us like it's means nothing at all, or like it's easy and it's nothing to it but just to do it. Like, no, you should not be okay with that type of shit. And you should take serious offense to any black male trying to suggest that type of shit to you with, you understanding that if it's easy for you to destroy me or want to take my life from me, why would I even want to entertain any moment being around you? I mean, that's the way we have to start looking at things, because there has not been literally a year or a month on any of these platforms, and I'm so serious about this, where a black woman and a child has not been taken out of this life by the hands of some low-functioning, uneducated, self-absorbed black male who is so dysfunctional, even the fucking wind screams they are unnatural. It's something you need to look into. Now, I do understand a lot of black women run from black femicide stories because they're sad and depressing. But what is more sad and depressing is the fact that the reality of that shit affects us more than anybody else. And we are not acknowledging it and dealing with it the way that we should to protect not only ourselves, but our little girls as well. So I think y'all need to start thinking about you first, all other bullshit later, and get the courage to let people know, I'm not interested in no relationship with you. Please leave me alone, and really have everything you need in your bag to deal with that motherfucker if he gets violent. Have a nice day.